Welcome back to the TheCivDiv. Glad you can join us today. If you haven't yet subscribed, mash that sub button so that we can continue spreading the good word to all the vets who need it and all those who are just curious. The algorithm always appreciates and takes in consideration your subscriptions and your likes to actually spread our video, so it would be highly appreciated if you can help us out in that regard. All right, so lately I have seen a lot of things popping up on Reddit and other channels about how to read your decision letter. This is one of those things that a lot of vets just seem not to get a complete grasp on. I know there's a lot of legal jargon, a lot of verbiage that is hard to understand. So we're going to kind of look a little bit closer and put it into easy terms for people to understand. Now we're going to do this kind of one term at a time. And so today's term is going to be really interesting, and I hope that it will illuminate your understanding of your letter. Let's get into it.
Whiskey 9 Yankee 7 November Golf, over.
So I think favorable findings is one of those terms that everybody sees, well, most people see on their decision letters, especially when we're talking about denials, although they're not really supposed to be specific to denials, but really they only make sense when it comes to denials. So what is favorable findings? By the end of the day, favorable findings are elements within a VA ratings decision letter that identifies positive aspects of your claim. So even if the claim itself is not fully approved, essentially these findings are supposed to highlight aspects of your case that the VA agrees with. So these favorable findings could include evidence that supports your diagnosis, confirmation of in-service evidence or injuries, or recognition of a current disability that could be service-connected in the right condition. So inclusion of the favorable findings for the VA decision letters is a relatively recent development. So guys who have received decision letters before 2020, you probably didn't really see favorable findings. So this practice was implemented to increase transparency and help veterans understand which part of their claims were actually accepted, even if they received a denial. In theory, by identifying favorable findings, the VA aims to provide veterans with a more straightforward path to achieve service connection by recognizing the elements of their claim already supported by evidence. So we know that it is not always that straightforward, and sometimes the favorable findings can change, especially if you're talking about being denied multiple times and going through appeals processes as well. Favorable findings can definitely change depending on what's going on. And so that leads me to my next point. What favorable findings are not. Okay, so it is important to understand that favorable findings are not guaranteed service connection. They do not automatically mean that your claim will be approved or you will be able to receive compensation even in the future, right? So instead, they are just indicators that some aspects of your claim are on the right track, but that additional evidence or clarification is needed for a fully approved claim. That's where a lot of us fall into the trap. You say, oh, favorable findings, we're going to get this approved. Let me just do a supplemental. But it's really about understanding what that favorable finding is really saying. So let's just get this straight. Even with favorable findings, the VA might still deny your claim if the overall evidence does not significantly demonstrate a direct connection between your current disability and your service. This means that while favorable findings are a positive sign, they are not the end of the road. You must still work to strengthen your claim by providing more comprehensive evidence. So, how do we use favorable findings to actually get us to service connection? This is a pretty straightforward approach, I think. So first thing you got to do is, one, identify the favorable finding, right? Actually read your decision letters. Just don't see denied and then see the reason why it was denied, but actually look at the favorable findings and carefully read that decision letter. Next, you want to gather additional evidence and fill in the gap. What I mean by this is use the identified favorable findings as a guide to gather additional evidence that supports the area that is found favorable. This might include more detailed medical evidence. This may include expert opinions or witness statements, right? At the end of the day, look for any gaps or weaknesses in your initial claim that might have led to that denial. Address these gaps directly with new evidence or clarifications. Most of the time, favorable findings are going to show something positive towards two main aspects. That'll be in-service evidence. So it'll say something to the effect of, favorable finding in 2005, you went to the doctor or you were seen for this thing, right? Or it'll say you have went to medical multiple times for headaches. It will actually tell you what of the big three you have according to your records. Or it will tell you the current diagnosis. So it'll say something to the effect of, in 2021, you were formally diagnosed with migraines or something to that effect, right? So it'll give you either your in-service evidence or it'll give you your current diagnosis. So because it gives you these two aspects, filling in the gap will lead you to service connection if done right. So when you do finally get the evidence and you submit your supplemental claim, depending if it's going to be a supplemental or appeal, and we have videos differentiating between the two. With the new evidence, the guidance from the favorable findings should get you to the end of the rainbow, if you know what I mean. So at the end of the day, if you take favorable findings and then give evidence to it, this will show the VA that you have addressed their concerns and bolstered the areas that they have already found favorable. At the end of the day, while favorable findings are not guaranteed of service connection, they are a valuable, very, very valuable indicator of things that you need to build up in order to get service connection. So understanding and utilizing these findings can improve your chances of gathering or getting service connection you deserve. At the end of the day, guys, read very carefully and try to develop an understanding of what the VA is saying in a lot of these documents. I get it. Some of these things are very confusing. Sometimes they contradict themselves. But at the end of the day, it's a legal consideration for disability. And so you have to play the game sometimes. Reading that favorable finding, really understanding it, and then combating the gap with evidence is the easiest way for you to get that service connection. All right, so thank you for watching. If you found this information helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. As always, this is Jay with TheCivDiv. Stay informed, stay resilient, and I'll see you next time.